very good evening to you and welcome. This is Face the Nation, Monday at 9:30 p.m. right here on TV1. The Prime Minister makes a very special statement today in Parliament. He says, if I am not going to do it, there is no problem in me saying it. What is the Prime Minister really referring to? Is he trying to silence the media? Is he trying to suppress the media? Or is he trying to say, whatever I say is not going to be implemented? Mixed reactions from the government. You have President Maithripala Sirisena, who was brought into power on the 8th of January 2015, stating that he requested Donald J. Trump, US President-elect, to drop charges against Sri Lanka as far as the UN human rights issues are concerned. He also said that he is going to request the UN Secretary General on the 1st of January 2017 to drop charges against Sri Lanka as well. Is it a sidestep or is it a complete U-turn the government is taking in terms of its policy, in terms of its foreign policy? Where is the country really heading? A topic of discussion today is state of affairs in Sri Lanka. What is happening? What is going on? And how must we really move forward? To discuss all this and more, we have with us four eminent personalities in the studios who have joined us previously on Face the Nation and who have been very critical about the conduct of the government over the last few months, last 1.5 years. Let me introduce them to you. Joining us this evening is Keith Thanakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. All joining us this evening is Mr. Azad Sali, leader of the National Unity Alliance. Also joining us this evening is Mr. Asoka Bekunawardana, chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency, who has been quite vocal about the change that took place on the 8th of January 2015, prior to the polls as well as after. Also joining us this evening is a former Human Rights Commissioner as well as attorney at law, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva. There are 5 commissioners at the UN Human Rights Council, and he was one of the former Human Rights Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka as well. Let us start off tonight's show with Mr. Asoka Bekunawardana, Chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. Mr. Asoka Bekunawardana, you are a staunch supporter of the present regime prior to the 8th of January polls last year. You were very vocal. You said there were human rights violations. You said there were issues of corruption. Do you think all the issues have now been arrested?
Now we had a mission, firstly to defeat the sort of a dictatorship approach of the previous government, the previous leader, and to create a different environment altogether for the benefit of the country. That has happened, and beyond that, what next was the issue. But it was clearly stated in the manifesto of the President that the two major parties should get together and have a serious discussion and come to a consensus regarding the long-term policies of the country. Within that context, one aspect was the constitution-related matters, and there were the other subjects, the very important subject areas for which whether the government can formulate a policy which has a long-term benefit to the country. This has happened not only in the local context but even in the international context. We can see that the global, the human civilization as a whole is shifting away towards a new development paradigm, which ultimately was agreed last year at the United Nations conference, coming up with new sustainable development goals. So it's a major shift from the previous development model, which I tag as the destructive development, and from destructive development towards sustainable development. What exactly the path ahead for the world, and also what we can do within the Sri Lankan context. So the manifesto of the government, the current president, clearly stated certain directions which are in line with the sustainable development goals. So within Sri Lanka, what we have witnessed is to create a better democratic environment for the people to discuss, debate and come to a consensus. the debate is right now happening, but there's no conclusion as such. Now we have witnessed that recently the Prime Minister presented the final or the proposals for the 6 sectors for the Constitution Amendment, which clearly shows that there's no in-depth understanding between the major parties regarding the future of the country. Now, if you consider the most important part, that's the center versus periphery, how we are going to share the power, I think they have missed the key point by ignoring the fact that we should share the power at the center to the maximum for building the consensus between the two or the 3 major communities in Sri Lanka.
Mr. Gunawardana, are you trying to say that there is no consensus between the 2 main political parties, that is the United People's Freedom Alliance as well as the United National Party at present?
Well, now the way which was presented, now I am not discussing about the 2 major parties, but the most important factors are the Tamil community and the Sinhala groups, where they have failed to win the hearts of the moderate groups of the Sinhala and Tamils. So that's why I think they have not considered the full overall concept, and they have not come up with the right solution. What they have done is they have just gone through the motions, which the debate which was there previously. So it is not suited to find a solution, because if you do not come up with a strong agreement between the 2 moderate groups, then what will happen is the extremists will get the momentum on both sides, among the Tamil people and also the Sinhala people, which will lead towards a chaotic situation in the future. So I don't think though they had discussions, I don't see that they have understood the correct way forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Asokabe Gunawardana, Chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. I now focus my attention to Mr. Azad Sali, leader of the National Unity Alliance. Ms. Sali, it seems that the government is taking a cue from the situation in the United States. What happened was quite remarkable. A man who was thought that won't win the polls came back very strong and won over 280 electoral colleges and emerged as victorious in the US presidential polls. However, in Sri Lanka, it is not the case. What happened was something different. The media supported, most media outlets supported the President Maithripala Sirisena. He had the strong backing of social media, he had the strong backing of electronic media, he had the strong backing of print media organizations, and now there seems to be an issue with regard to disciplining these media institutions. You see, many media outlets, media websites have been banned, and the cabinet meetings, media organizations are being criticized. Why is this? Has the government got its priorities wrong?
No, I think at that meeting, I think whatever said and done, Honorable Mangala Samaravira had spoken out and said this is not the pledge that we have given to the people, and this is not the pledge that we gave to the media institutions, which is a remarkable comment that he had made, to at least enlighten the people who came to power through the support of the media organizations, print media or electronic media or the social media, is a message to them. But at the same time, Samir, what we have to understand is that social media has been totally going hayway, the way it is being used. I really don't agree with that. There must be some sort of a restriction that has to come in, also because every Tom, Dick and Harry is issuing statement today. You can see everybody going in his vehicle issuing statements, and those are not just statements.
But that is not the fault of the media.
No, what I'm not the fault of the media. That's what I say. It's a social media. Why I'm saying is this: because we are a country that has suffered through communal violence, 30 years of war. This country cannot afford another war. This is what we are trying to say. Because now see today what happened at the water's edge, right? Today there was the Pakistan food festival, and there was some Pakistani flags put. Suddenly a monk comes in from the BBS. He goes and makes a complaint. Police comes and removes the flags. Where is this? Where are we heading for? Will other countries come to do a trade fair in this country? all those countries who are trying to bring investors and come. What are we trying to tell those people? Are we trying to tell the investors, don't come, Sri Lanka is very dangerous? No, that is because always we used to say, you have to, problems have to be handled very carefully and delicately, because now if the police will not act against this extremism, I think we are going to end up somewhere. I just want to mention, as Ashoka said, there can be these extremist groups from all sides can get together and burn the country off. This is because the government is not acting with these elements. Government will have to act fast. And if you take, as I always say, Singapore was one country, how they got rid of this hate and communalism and extremism. They just took all communities, one person each from all communities, arrested them, gave wide publicity and said, these people are arrested for this reason. And from that day onwards, Singapore is a very free country and nobody can
But that is happening right now.
It's not happening, it's only been talked of. You can't be talking. Now see, Honorable Vijayadasa Rajapaksa made a statement in Parliament. He said, May mote indala. That means from now onwards, nobody can make hate speeches, nobody can have protest rallies. Now everything is happening. Today you see social media is talking about going to the east, right? The Buddhist groups, the extreme groups want to go to the east to destroy the peace that is there. So like that, if the police will give permission, they were planning to go on to another 2 sites on 19th of this month. We went to the IGP. We were able to get those things stopped or turn the vehicles that came up to that point. So can we be doing this all the time? Unless the police act properly. Now what is the reason they were saying? They were telling the minister, the prime minister and the president that we don't have laws to curtail this. Then Honorable Vijayadasa Rajapaksa very clearly said, these are the laws. He gave the numbers and said, these are the laws that you can act. And only on that they acted and got 2 people arrested. One was from the single extreme, and we got one arrested from the Muslim extreme group. Why? We have to do that. But there are people who have done major crimes, but they have not been taken yet up to now. Because what they try to say is, those things happened earlier, before my speech. Now after his speech also it has happened. Even today's incident, if the government will just overlook, it's a terrific situation. Pakistan High Commission goes and have a food festival, and then before the function starts, the Buddhist monks coming and ransacking the whole place. Police comes and removes. Can the police come and remove a national flag of a country? Where is the law?
Thank you very much, Mr. Azad Salih, leader of the National Unity Alliance. I now move my attention to Mr. Kirti Thendakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Mr. Thendakon, last year the budget was viewed as a very controversial, a complex, a confused budget. But then again, people commended the budget because the President's expenditure, the Prime Minister's expenditure came down drastically to what we experienced in Sri Lanka over the last few years. However, this year round, things have changed. The Prime Minister's expenditure is up to 1.25 billion in the year 2017 compared to what it was standing at 0.4 billion. The President's expenditure has increased to 6.45 billion rupees to compare to what we experienced this year, that is 2.3 billion. What is happening?
Throughout the last years after the independence, everyone was thinking, there's a perception that whenever a UNP government is down there, they will better perform the economy. They are having better economic policies and all that for such a long time, and it was heritated and it was well talked about, and that was a perception of the community. But here, with the good governance government, one thing we have seen for last 2 years now with 2 budgets, the economy is not performing, and in the other hand, this seems like this Yahapalana government, the good governance government, is not having a sufficient policy framework when it comes to the policy matters. The economy is not on the right track, it's non-factor, and for example, when you comparing the very basics of the budget, there's no taxation policy for almost 10 months. And how can a country run when you don't have a taxation policy for 10 months of out of 12 months of the year? So this is a concern factor. And in the other hand, now we are experiencing what we thought of, what we talked about during the election campaign for this Yahaparana government. The basics, you gave the very concrete two examples, the Prime Minister's budget and the President's budget has increased almost twice. So the issue is when these sort of expenditure come, I mean, this is a very small portion of the total budget, of course, we have to agree about that. And in the other hand, when it comes to the taxations and how they politicians and the policy makers are putting taxations, getting new taxation policies on and on telecommunication to road, the traffic fine and all that. So the issue here, we see that they try to win the heart of the parliamentarian. It's not, they are not doing sufficient enough to win the hearts of the people of this country. I think this is, if this is the way they try to handle the constitutional reforms, I think everyone knows that, I mean, next year will be the year for the reformist agenda. Constitutional reforms will come on, but here what we see from the policy framework, the 6 committees formed on and the Prime Minister announced, it's that, I mean, the basics on the constitutional reforms are not on the right track. The public consultations had happened, but it is not sufficient, and we don't see how the dialogue is going on and what are the basics of this. In the other hand, we see when these sort of closed door discussions were taking on, is the UNP is trying to get a sort of a constitution which the UNP is having. So this is very highly controversial, and vote buying or the getting the attention, getting the good books to be on the good books of the president by giving them vehicles and additional benefits, and is not the right way, I think, to get the reformist agenda, preparing for the reformist year next year.
Mr. Thanakon, strangely enough, you had the Prime Minister of the country saying that he feels ashamed when he goes home that his wife is earning more than him. And that is why he wants to increase the salary of parliamentarians in Sri Lanka. Then you had another minister who was the Minister of Tourism in Sri Lanka saying that the insurance scheme granted to parliamentarians should increase up to 500,000. 200,000 is not enough. Do these people or do these parliamentarians realize that minus the 225 MPs in Sri Lanka, there are many other civilians in the country? Do they realize that every single time someone goes home, they must be ashamed that they don't even have food to eat? Have they realized this fact?
The issue about the increase of the salaries of the parliamentarians, I mean, we are having the wrong statistics on our hand. For example, I mean, it is not the right salary they are mentioned, but basically if you collect all add up all the expenditure which has given to the ministers or the deputy minister or the state ministers, it will lead somewhere around 6.5 million rupees per month, and all the, I mean, this 6.5 million has to be mentioned. And when you ignoring the fact that the other facilities given to the parliamentarians and the ministers and the deputy ministers, we are talking about something very uncertain. We are talking about something which is not true. And when we see these sort of when we see these sort of comments justifying the increase of the salaries of the parliamentarians, what we feel as the people who knows the truth about this is the Prime Minister of the country is misleading the Parliament and the people of this country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keith Thanakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. There was a time in Sri Lanka, approximately around 2 years ago, when an individual of the former regime, a strong minister of the former cabinet, was injured. The expenditure that was incurred by the government at that time was 109 lakhs, that is approximately on 10.9 million Sri Lankan rupees. Same case happened this time around as well. What happened? You had another minister being paid a bill of approximately 10 million Sri Lankan rupees. Where is the country really heading? Will you get that privilege seated at home? Will your ticket be paid for by the government? I'll let you think and ponder on during our conversation today. Let's now move to Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva, former Human Rights Commissioner, one of the former Human Rights Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. Dr. Mahanamaheva, our topic of discussion today is state of affairs in Sri Lanka. My question to you is very simple. What is the role of the joint opposition in Sri Lanka? Is formulating parties their role right now? Is threatening the government their role right now? What is their role? You have the Sri Lanka Police General Peramuna being created under the auspices of Professor G.L. Pires. You have everyone tagging along this party right now. They are somewhat exerting pressure on the government, not letting them do their job. And this is the mind frame of the public in Sri Lanka. What should be the role of the so-called joint opposition in the country?
Before that, I like to add a few things. You can remember when the new government and the president on only 6,000 rupees the budget and signed, and also signed by a ballpoint pen. Now, is that happening now? Started with a good vision and mission. But on practice what happened, very sad thing, when I was coming from Rajagiri, there was a building, millions and millions paying. But even nothing happening there. You just pay money. Why is that? This is where you are going to satisfy everyone. Now I link whatever the question you asked, whether the opposition now in parliament acting as opposition. That's why these groups are creating. If the real opposition is acting for the best benefit of the country, now we can't see opposition. In the budget also we saw opposition also voting with the government. They have the right to that. They have a right, I have seen first time in Sri Lanka parliament, because two parties are working together. Not only three parties now, national government. In a national government, now people, if you come to street and hear their sorrow and hear what they say, that's why these groups created. The so-called joint opposition, or maybe another opposition, is there to put the government into the correct path.
But are they doing their job?
Is that happening? That's my issue. My main issue, the so-called original or real opposition, they are silent in many issues. They are only interested in certain issues. Therefore, automatically this is happening.
They're only interested in protecting themselves.
Yeah.
Is it right if I say that?
They look after certain community. They are really interested in one part of the country.
Now you saw this joint opposition holding rallies, which was called the Padayatra. You had many people walking from one point to another. Everything seems to be only self-centered. Everything seems to be only for self-satisfaction, isn't it?
The issue is this. Someone can interpret it as self-satisfaction. Another person also can interpret to stop certain things happening in the government. Maybe tax increase or any other thing. So there must be...
Because the slogans changed. Initially the slogan was tax increase, the cost of living increase.
Yeah.
And then the slogan changed to let's not arrest these people, they're trying to take revenge. So the slogans changed one time constantly. And that is why
You
people
can't
give rise to people as to what is really the motive behind these protests.
You can't have one slogan forever. It's all changed with the nature of the government, nature of the politics. That's why they go. But the real issue, whether the parliament today discussing mass issues, whether they really see what's going on in the society, all these are talk show.
But why can't
This
they
also
work
talk
together?
show. This also finally talk show.
But why can't they work together? Now there is a United People's Freedom Alliance. Why can't everyone get together and fight or work for a common cause, Dr. Mahana Maheva? Why not? Why are there petty agendas in these groups?
They have their own political agenda. Sometimes president knows something after reading a newspaper. Even the people who are working together, as Ashoka said, are they having a one vision? That is my major issue. So, give me 1 minute. One-time tax increase, popular demand, tax, those type of tax or fine, terminated. Sometimes certain laws introduced, time to time they change those things. Government also like that. You blame for joint opposition, let's say government is doing the correct thing. What they do? Popularity. They want to win next elections. So that's why if you introduce a law, let's keep on moving like that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha Mahana Maheva, one of the former Human Rights Commissioners of the Human Rights Commission in Sri Lanka. Let me introduce our journalist this evening. As usual, on to my immediate right is Nadim Majid. Nice to have you on board, Nadim, as usual. Also joining us this evening is attorney at law Sonali Vanagabadhi. On to my immediate left, she is also working as a journalist attached to Newsfirst, and on to my far left is producer at the Newsfirst English news desk, Shahin Jurampati, joining us this evening as well. Let's start off with Shahin.
Thank you, Sham. Mr. Kirti, at the beginning of our conversation this evening, Mr. Asad Saleh mentioned that it's all action and all talk and no action in this government. Well, turns out, do you think that that is the case from the time they came into power, all talk and no action?
When it comes to some issues, the government has performed in commendable position, and we should admire that. We have to recognize that. And when it comes to the very basics, freedoms, political freedoms and all that, so we are experiencing a much better society today. But here, when it comes to the economic performance and when it comes to the openness, there are issues. The issue here is that when the government is not performing well with the financial sector, when it comes to the economy, if it is not performing as it expected, we are having a definite problem on our hand. In the other hand, there was a very big hope of foreign direct investment coming into Sri Lanka as the very basics of political rights and the freedoms are ensured, and when the international community recognized that this is becoming a better country, better society, and the anti-corruption drive was down there, and there was a commendable enthusiasm among the people within Sri Lanka and outside the country for better reconciliation effects and all that. So the basics was down there, but when it comes to the ground realities after 2 years, one thing we see is that our expectations are not met. So when it comes to that, I am really in line with Asad, because I mean so much of hope was down there. We hope with the expectations was so high, but there's no satisfiable sort of action has taken on this particular thing.
You start off saying that there are many issues that you could commend as far as the government is concerned, and then you're trying to say that you agree with Mr. Azad Saleh in what he's saying. You should take a stand on your own on this.
Definitely, yes. I mean, we are having our own stand on this. What I am trying to say is that, I mean, there's a very big expectation on these issues, and that expectation is...
Has the government done enough, or has the government not
it's
done
not done enough. That's
right.
the issue, and we all agree on that, but the very basics the government has not done. They can perform well. There's a very big space to perform better than this, what is happening, especially when it comes to the economy, for that matter.
Mr. very simple. You have a white sheet and a black dot. So the black dot is what is visible right now as far as the government is concerned, isn't it? Yeah. So what is the government doing to rectify this problem?
Actually, Samir,
You're a staunch supporter of President Maithripala Sirisena. You stood with the United National Party until they did not give you the nationalist seat. What's happening now?
see, it's not because of the seat that I speak. I speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Right? I am not that bothered about the nationalist seat, or I have not gone behind anybody asking
I
for the
want
seat
to pose a
also.
question about this nationalist seat in a minute, but I'll let you speak.
I think we have discussed that enough. Samir, the thing is this. Now, like my friend says, what are the issues? What was our priority? We said a lot of things. We gave the masses a lot of promises that we are going to do this, that and everything. It was done. Like appointing of the independent commissions, it was done. Like Pratibha said, 6,000 rupees was the initial day function. After that, what happened? After that, what is happening? Is that example being followed? No. Today you can see corruption to the same status of Mahinda Rajapaksa and family. Right? Now even if you take the commissions that were appointed, we all thought these are going to be very independent and everybody is going to function the way it is. Police Commission, Judiciary Commission, Bribery Commission. After that we saw interference from the government. We see government interfering into every commission, and with that the independence of those commissions are lost. Number one. So we have failed in that area. Bribery and corruption, we can see ministers robbing openly. As I always say, the previous regime, 11 years the whole family was very comfortably sitting and robbing. These guys are running and robbing. This is the difference that I see in this government and that government. Now if you take the Alibaba and the 40 thieves, they are also not coming out openly against the government. Now there is a deal. What is the deal? You all don't persuade these cases. Put a stop to all these cases. We will support you. Now you saw when my friend Ravi Karunanayake, the Minister of Finance, was submitting his the budget, everybody was so silent. I mean, they were the best behaved boys. All 225 were best behaved boys.
This time around, probably they understood what he was saying, isn't it?
Not that they understood.
Mr. Saleh, was it because half of them were asleep?
Yeah, that was the leaders who sleep, not the others. The major leaders of the parties were fast asleep. With all this, what happened? What did they come out and say? They didn't have any criticism on the budget. Of course, they didn't have any option to criticize also. It was a good budget, accepted by everybody. But what is happening now? They want to increase. Now what the Prime Minister is thinking is my giving them a vehicle permit, which they promised not to give. By giving that vehicle, each person made a 22 million buck, quick buck. Only got the permit, before they got the permit, they got the advance. As they got the permit, they got 22 million each.
In some
Is this
cases,
tax?
30.
Huh?
Even some cases 30 million.
30 million also. He has got some information.
No,
that some
but
have
it's only
sold at
25
30.
million. The tax refund is only 25 million. I don't know how they earn 30 million out of it, if that's the case.
So, but I knew was 22, 25 was the range, but most of them had bought it at 22 million only immediately. Okay. Then, now each minister is given another 600,000 extra.
700,000.
700. Now it has become 700,000. That is for the wife to run, the granddaughter to run, the daughter to run. You can hire the vehicle from the ministry. Right? The second corruption. Then the third one. Right? Each minister, what is he doing now? Go to the ministries and see. Refurbishing. All the ministries are being spent. You know, lot of money is spent on refurbishing. Go to the official residence of the ministers. All, you know, my God, so luxury fittings and all that. All this is not what we said. What we said was good governance. Where are we at this point?
Dr. Mahanamaheva, there is a growing inconsistency with every passing day between the mandate given by the people and the actual manner in which parliamentarians are behaving. They were given the power as a public trust, where the public trust doctrine applies. They keep the power on trust for the people for a limited period of time. Now this concept of citizen being the king has now translated itself to citizen is the mule that carries the burden of the parliamentarian. So how do you see this concept of with great power comes great responsibility when all we are seeing each day is great irresponsibility?
Not only that, whether the consumer is the king in the market? No. Whether the patient autonomy? Those are all collapsed now. Answering this question, what you ask, what is the principle of good governance? People's participation. That's why UN former Secretary General Kofi Annan said, people participation means time to time elections are necessary. Now what is going to happen? Kirti is expert more than me in these areas. But we can see how many petitions are going to Sri Lanka Election Commission. Finally, what the commissioner said, he was so frustrated and made several statements, I am ready to conduct the elections. So the main thing here, there is a growing protest against the government in the grassroots level. Now, how to handle that? The best thing is postponing elections. You can give many reasons. Now 2 years gone. 2 years already gone. So in that period, what they have done? Where is the delimitation commission? What they have done? Even they want to conduct certain elections. Whatever the areas they have measured and they have completed. But it's also not happening. So the question is this. The mandate is people's mandate. It can be parliament election. It can be municipality council. It can be Pradeshya Sabha. Now all the municipality councils are today with no people representative. Pradeshya Sabha is also same. So people need. So where is the good governance? Where are the policies? Timely elections are not happening, but you have several exceptions. Fighting going on delimitation commission and you put the blame to him. Likewise,
But the constitution allows that, Dr. Mahanam.
that's why there is a Supreme Court case. One of the election monitoring group has filed a case, so it is coming in January, I think. But even that, there must be ethical and moral obligation for this government to conduct the election. Forget about that also. Whether this government is taking the correct message to people. Now, for example, I am not going to talk about 79 billion or something has allocated for vehicles MPs. They got the trump very easily. This parliament, power retaining is there, and also some of the portfolios change or new ministries can be given because there is a simple statement. When the government before forming and when they were in election platform, 30 cabinet ministers only. 30 cabinet ministers.
25.
25 cabinet ministers. Excellent. So we would have stopped all these things. So that point Asad Salih said, rather than they are doing the people work, they are refurbishing. And also they are looking for this. Some state ministers say, no, we don't have anything. Then you provide. When they say something, protest against the government, don't worry, we'll have a discussion, don't leave, we will give all these things. Now the issue is this, 2 years gone, still they are setting up the system. Not even setting up the system, give some examples. You can easily show this by dedication. And what is the, give me 1 minute, what is the talk here? Not people's salary, not people's expenses, not people's sufferings, not people's frustration, all parliamentarians. So all political parties are same, that is my basic understanding. So they try to keep them happy. Then easily you can get 175 votes for the 2/3 majority which is coming in the election period. And also you are sitting for a referendum. My argument is this, as Kirti perfectly said, whether the groups or who participated, how many people gave proposals. Let's see how Nelson Mandela did in 1996 constitution. Before that, put a draft, no draft even, to discuss this. Interim constitution was there in Nepal. Other countries, they had the interim constitution. Just setting up 6 committees and getting people what they said, it is not the reason. As a leader, you should come forward. This is our constitution. And people, you can say your things. This is where robbing things, no? Taking from people. Still government has a chance. Still government has a chance. Okay, put the interim constitution. Next time we can debate it. Without anything. How can we debate? 6 committees are there. The only thing I saw in papers, right to life introduced to this constitution. But Supreme Court has recognized right to life in some cases. As a lawyer, you know that. Those are not the things. And they meet, the SLFPS, they meet honorable monks and say, what is that? Whatever in the constitution, we are ready. What TNA say? What Tamil National Alliance, what they say? Whether there is a consensus? Nothing.
Mr. Abegunawardena, you campaigned to bring this administration into power in December 2014. I remember in your book, Yuga Peraliya, you were talking about how you caused this revolution of sorts. I want to go into a few more specific things about this government in particular. It's the same government that we've had in essence since the 8th of January 2015, specifically with the 100 days program. You still don't have the code of conduct. The budget has come along and everyone has forgotten about the national audit bill, which is, God only knows what's happening to it. Electoral reforms, which were your pet project, that is dead in the water. What happened to the 20th Amendment?
Actually, now to respond to some of the comments made regarding the current situation, I think as intellectuals, the concerned citizens, we have to be more proactive in the process. The issue we were facing is that everybody is blaming the others, but not coming up with a substantive solution to the issues. Now, as we now regarding the 20th
Mr.
Amendment,
Abegunawardena, you came up with substantive solutions.
That's
Those
what I
substantive solutions were in the 100-day program. Those substantive solutions have not been implemented.
yeah, that's now let's take the example of 20th Amendment. Now, we went to a greater extent before the elections, but we couldn't complete that. Now the dialogue is continuing, and most likely that now the 6 subcommittee reports are out. Still the major one is not yet. Within that, the amendments to the election process is there. Now they have come to an understanding which was based on the proposed 20th Amendment and something beyond that to build up the consensus. But we have to wait and see when it's out whether that will satisfy the purpose, because we need to be very careful that different political parties have different concerns. How to accommodate all of them in one particular solution is a really challenging issue.
But
so
are we
happening,
working for the mandate of the political parties or the mandate of the people? The people have already given a mandate to change the electoral reforms,
Yeah.
change the electoral
Yeah.
process, and the 6.2 million people in this country have already voted for that in a referendum of sorts. They were expecting that the next election they have will be under fair election laws, that there will be caps on campaign spending, that they will have a representative for their electorate. Where is that?
Yeah, all agree that we should change the system, but the final result, what exactly we are replacing, there's no consensus. That's the issue. I mean, the political parties to a great extent represent their communities. So, I mean, the concerns we had during that time were whether this new system will be favoring certain communities or certain major parties, or whether it will favor the minority parties, so that the stability of the government is challenged. So those are issues we really need to consider. That's why we were very careful in formulating that proposal, and what's happening right now, it's something beyond that. It's a constructive dialogue. There's no issue about that. It's not a destructive approach, a constructive dialogue. So reaching the consensus.
That just sounds like more delays to me.
Yeah, the issue is actually
you had
now
a draft, you had an amendment, you had a draft amendment. It was, for some reason, it was not put to Parliament in time for, it was not passed in Parliament, and now you've taken the draft back and you're starting from scratch again.
No, it's not so. Now the basic approach is the same. Now we will continue with the proportionate system. Within that, when selecting a particular parliamentarian, we are using the first past the fourth system. So it's within the proportionate system, the FPPs are recognized. Now the issue was, Now, at that time, there was a request by the smaller parties, the minor parties, that there should be two ballot papers. So that was a very valid point. And instead of having two ballot papers, now what the discussion is right now is we will extend the district to a provincial level, so that the concerns of the minor parties can be accommodated within that framework. So it's a new initiative, something beyond what was there. We are building on the basic framework we established during the 20th Amendment. So there's no question about that. But the issue will be something else. Now, if they come to a consensus on this matter and introduce a new electoral system, then the issue will be delimitation process, because here we are going to reduce the number of the former electorates. Within that context, similar incidents may happen as that has happened in the local authority
Mr.
framework.
Talking about electoral reforms now, will you be contesting the upcoming local government polls, and how would this system affect you?
No, that's what now this proposal, I think, as the government came in, we all sat, right? We were discussing, and once we were summoned to Temple Trees and said, you all are not even going out for lunch. I'll give you sandwiches, eat and finish it. That was the message given to us by the Prime Minister. All was done in such a hurry, right? Now it is 22 months, right? Nobody can just say that we are still talking. There is a plan by the government. This is a delaying tactics. Now you saw the Halibaba's group, right? They went before Minister Faiza Mustafa and said, come on, where is the delimitation? Then he said, no, why are you talking of June? We want elections now. They said, okay. Then they went before the chairman who is doing that. Then he promised to give the file before the minister on the 24th. And he has handed over. So now you can't say that you are going to have election in June 2017. No, you can have election. Election Commission, as Pratibha said, Election Commissioner is also saying, you give me, I am ready to hold election.
No,
he is ready.
We had some communications with the Delimitation Commission today itself, and I think 99% of the delimitation process is now completed, and there are there's a issue with 2 districts. Of course, I mean it's with the issue is with the some of the drafting people who was making the maps. And it could we can expect something tomorrow for sure, and if it is not tomorrow, day after tomorrow, so we are going to finish it by December 1st at least, so it will be gazetted. I mean, this delimitation committee report is going to the minister to gazette, not to consider or not to look for anything else. And if he is doing something on that, I mean, if he is trying to do further getting a delaying tactic, it's a very deliberate, and we have to stand against that.
Why did the Delimitation Commission take so long?
I mean, there were so many technical issues, number one, and we should not forget this is a issue which was inherited from the Rajapaksa regime's time, and there's so much complex. And in the other hand, we were talking about this issue for such a long time, but here, as you mentioned about the 20th Amendment, Ashoka, we know that we had more than 3 dozens of meetings with different political parties before the elections. Did a single meeting in a public space took after that? No public consultation. There was 4 drafts came on. Now even some of these ministers and the party leaders are not happy about multiple member sheets, and if the multi-member sheets are not coming, so the minority Muslims and the upcountry Tamil political parties, what will happen to them? So the issue here at the very beginning, at the very first 6 months of this Yahapalana government, the consultation factor was down there, and now we don't see, even the people like us, we don't know what is happening with the electoral reforms.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keerthan Nakon. We are going for a short commercial break, but before that, Ms. Sali, you did not respond to my question.
Yeah.
I asked you whether you will be contesting the upcoming local government elections.
We have to contest. There is no doubt about it. I am contesting.
Are you going to contest?
I am going to contest. I am going to contest. There is no 2 words about it.
Is that why you are vocal these days in streets and in many platforms, podiums? I'm trying to win someone's heart, like the people's minds and hearts, to elect you to power. Which party would you be contesting?
See, I will be contesting with my own party.
National Unity Alliance. Thank you very
testing
much.
for Mayor of Colombo?
See, and can I have a minute?
I will give you a minute after you go for a short commercial break. I'll give you
Okay.
3 minutes in the third round, Sally, and you can definitely express your views there. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today is state affairs in Sri Lanka. Are we on the right track? What must we do? All this and more after the short commercial break. Stay connected. Stay with Face the Nation. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. I've been pressed to give Mr. Saleh his minute to talk about what he was finishing. However, Mr. Saleh, not right now. I will give you a minute briefly, but let's focus our attention on Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva, former Human Rights Commissioner and attorney at law. Dr. Mahanamaheva, the government seems to be taking a U-turn, or is it trying to take a side step? In rugby, you say you put a dummy pass and just move to another step and try to move forward towards your try. Is this what the government trying to do, or is it a complete U-turn to its policies that they envisaged or spoke of prior to the 8th of January 2015 polls? Your time starts now.
Government has had a purely voluntary intention to go with what is called by good governance. But immediately after that, what happened? The losing candidates were elected to the national list. From that, the whole scenario started. Because changing a policy, people are politicians. Those who are in politics. Once again, what happened? Even president may have a clear intention, but he can't control most of the time because he will lose the power. So then president also have to take some slogans, whatever these corrupted politicians are doing. Otherwise you can't remain in power. That is the nature of politics. So everyone had a good intention, whatever so-called code of conduct, March the 12th declaration, and all these gone out now. So they have started the practice. Once again they have gone to U-turn. And also we are pledging the US President to lift the war crime resolution. But on one hand, what will happen to Tamil diaspora and as TNA, they are pressurizing in a different way. So government alone, they are creating self-problems. Why they can't go
How
on?
will this be viewed by the Tamil community, like the Tamil National Alliance in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, now, Tamil National Alliance actually, what they do, they need the international inquiry. That's how they started in this. But after Hillary Clinton's departure, what happened? Now they are once again try to, pressurize Sri Lanka and the United Nations Human Rights Council. That resolution is still there. But Sri Lanka officially now the president has appealed from the US president. Yeah.
How do you view this statement made by the president?
Now once again we are depending on another country. I mean alone we can fight. I can remember in 2014, as he said, Pakistan is the only country. They came up a resolution in United Nations Human Rights Council to postpone the election. They wholehearted supported Sri Lanka at that time, but it was also defeated. But my argument is we don't have a policy for that. When the president changed, if we are appealing like that, what is our stand? That's why we must have strong policies. Whatever. Now we have seen the hybrid court. It was also agreed. Even from government side, they agreed to set up a hybrid court. But what now we are doing? So people, those who are in these institutions, even president change, I don't think the policies may change. So we must take a firm stand.
Dr.
Even we are having a national inquiry or some kind of inquiry, it should complete. Why we are asking once again actually to change these things?
Dr. Mahanamaheva, on this very show, you said that we have to move forward.
Yes.
And we should not consider an act based on the whim and fancy of the international community.
Correct.
So what the president is saying now is requesting the international community, requesting the United Nations, requesting the United States of America to drop charges against Sri Lanka and for us to start afresh. So it is, seems like the right footing for a country like Sri Lanka.
Why we are requesting from them? Actually, we can have national inquiry or some type of a different truth and reconciliation commission. All these things are there. We have to show our honesty for the international community rather than begging a president. We can do it alone. We are not setting up the system. We just request. This is a USA sponsored resolution.
We co-sponsored this resolution in question.
That's why we are requesting like that. But what will happen? Even can Donald Trump change these things in the United Nations Human Rights Council?
My question is, why wasn't a request like this made last year when they discussed Sri Lanka at the Human Rights Council sessions?
The issue was this. US was really, they were interested to come up with these inquiries at that time. If they had made the request, they never consider it. They will ignore it. So that's why they waited until the chance arise. Then we are requesting like that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamheva, attorney at law, joining us this evening on the show and expressing his views on the third round. Mr. Azad Saleh, a leader of the National Unity Alliance, I give you 3.5 minutes. So I gave only 3 minutes for each speaker. So I give you 30 seconds to respond where you stopped before.
Actually, just to continue with what Pratibha
So you don't
said,
want to talk about...
No.
Right, okay.
That's
yes.
also very important.
Yeah.
22 months have passed. We are asking Donald Trump to drop charges. What did we do? 22 months we were just sitting. If we had started some investigation locally, we would have ended up somewhere. And we would have charged a few people. At least that would have been a big eye-opener to the international community that we are honest in whatever we are saying. And from there, Sri Lanka will be looked upon. That is one country that gave a pledge to the people, gave a pledge to the international. You know the relationship, how the relationship was when the previous regiment was there. After the change, the entire world changed and they were coming towards us and telling us, you tell what you want, we will give you. When they have asked this, what are we doing? We are totally ignoring all these resolutions that are coming. We are only just taking time. And after 22 to 23 months, now we are telling Donald Trump, can you please take this off? What is going to happen to the innocent people who have lost their lives, who are waiting for some justice to happen in this country? There are Sinhala people who have suffered in this war. There are Muslims who have suffered in this war. There are Tamils who have suffered in this war. Everybody is asking for an international inquiry. But at least we got the privilege to say, we will have a local mechanism. We will start locally. We don't want international judges to come. We don't want international countries to come and help us. We will do it ourselves. But what did you do for 22 years, 22 months? Nothing.
So you mean to say that there is no genuine interest taken by the government of Sri Lanka to solve this problem?
No, the entire episode lies, you know where? With Ali Baba and the 40 thieves.
Who is Ali Baba here? Who are the 40 thieves here?
Mahinda Rajapaksa is the Ali Baba. And the 40 thieves with him. Now what are they trying to do? Now you see, you said there was a party formed. Who is the leader of the party? A non-MP, GL Piris. Who is the person who takes the first membership? None other than Basil Rajapaksa. Right? Who are the other members who are coming and joining the party? All disgruntled elements and all previous local government members are coming and taking membership. Why isn't any of the MP leading this? If Mahinda Rajapaksa wants to come with a party, why does not he take leadership? Entire 40 members go and take the membership now. Tell one MP to start. I challenge them. I challenge the 40 members of parliament with Mahinda Rajapaksa. If you have the guts, go. Take the new membership from the new party. Not a single person will do. Why? Negotiations.
Well, why didn't Basil Rajapaksa be appointed as the leader of the party?
Because he is a non-MP, that's all. So nobody can.
Let's put.
Nobody is going to call him for inquiry.
Why not?
GL Piris, nobody is bothered to call him for inquiry. Why should they call him? He is not nobody. He is not a nationalist MP. Nobody. So again, Basil Rajapaksa. Why should they call Basil Rajapaksa? He is also non-entity now. So there is no point. That is why they have started this way. And then the GL Piris himself is telling he doesn't know what is happening there. He has only taken over the leadership. The rest are being done by Basil Rajapaksa. Members are coming in, but not a single of the MPs have taken this. I tell them, come on, you take it.
Ms. Ali, my question to you is now talking about the Podujana Perimuna that was formed under the auspices of Professor G.L. Previs. Why is it that the former president still has somewhat of an influence in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party? What is the reason behind this?
See, tomorrow, if the ministers who are sitting with President Maithripala Sirisena feel that the wind is towards there, all these guys are going to run there. This is Sri Lankan politics. If you again feel in the UNP that Ranil Wickremesinghe is becoming weak and somebody becoming strong, all these ministers are going to go and meet those individuals there and say, we are there, you take over, we are going to support you. This is Sri Lankan politics. You know why? All these people are making Mahinda Rajapaksa king only because this government has not acted properly. Nothing but that. From the time this good governance government came, if they had done what they promised, that is action against all the perpetrators who have robbed the country, right? All these abductions, burning of TV stations, all the inquiries are not going. Nothing is happening. If that starts, Mahinda Rajapaksa will not be living in Sri Lanka also.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azad Saleh, leader of the National Unity Alliance. I now move my attention to Mr. Kirti Tennakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Mr. Tennakon, I want to talk about the budget that was presented by the Minister of Finance. Now, the government expected to make a revenue, a tax revenue, a VAT revenue of 10 billion rupees for the year 2016. However, because of the thinking of the present regime, they were only able to impose the VAT during the last couple of weeks. And now the government revenue through VAT stands at 1.8 billion rupees. However, when the revenue has gone down so much, the envisaged amount was 10 billion, now it's 1.8 billion. The government is looking at purchasing 58 vehicles for parliamentarians valued at 40 million rupees. The total amount stands at a staggering 2.4 billion. Where is the government going to find the money for all this? Are the public going to be burdened? Is this what organizations like the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election campaigned for during or prior to the presidential polls, prior to the general elections last year? The time starts now.
Definitely, the burden will be on the people, and we can see that the burden is coming on people with different shapes. So the issue here, I mean, next year there will be the constitutional and the other reforms are coming on. The government, the president and the prime minister try to ensure that the support of the house one way or the other, and that to that we see that the bribing of the ministers, deputy ministers and the members are coming on in different shapes. The issue here, for last 23 months we was not capable of introducing a single law to fight against corruption. And there was much was talked about, there was as much of technical assistance came on from various countries, and UN helped us to draft some of these laws, new laws of course, but not a single law to fight against corruption was taken place. The other factors, are we had the genuine effect or a try on transitional justice, as my friend Asad said. So there's no single concrete try to get something credible on ground has happened down there. When it comes to the judiciary, the independence of the judiciary is once again on a very big question mark with very different shapes. What happened with the Lanka E-News editor Sandaruan and all this, the judgment came on, I mean, everyone knows the issue related to the Upali Tennakon and some other journalists, including Lasantha.
Mr. Nakon, you need to take responsibility for the statements
Definitely,
that you make in
yes.
this show, because we will not take responsibility for the statements you make with regard to any issues that any of the speakers here mentioned, particularly with regard to a court judgment. Yes, you can proceed.
So what we are seeing here is that some of these very concrete cases in the judiciary is coming on in different shapes are not very well addressed. In the other hand, we see the Valikada massacre where 27 people, prisoners, suspects get killed in one particular place, was not investigated. The report, 3 reports were produced, and all they were locked up with different parts of the government. In the other hand, we see that there was some murder cases were happened. There was no investigations were happened. More than that, on November 21st in 2014, just after the Maitripala Sirisena's announcement for the common candidacy came out, one person was shot at Maggona Kalutara. Still, after 2 years, that particular person is semi-paralyzed and his case was not heard until now. And there was a very known fact that the police investigations were not completed. When it comes to the prosecution, we are having a very big issue. We are having an issue with the investigations on the bribery and corruption and some of the killings, murderers, disappearances and all that. When it comes to the transparency of these cases, it is not satisfactory. We have to act on these very basic principles which the government pledged in their election campaigning. And if that issue is not sorted out in a credible way, I think the next coming 12 months for this particular government will be very, very crucial. And they have not just to talk about, but they have to perform, they have to show that their words are on the run.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirti Tennakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. I now move my attention to Mr. Ashok Abhigunawardena, Chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. Mr. Abhigunawardena, you've been featured on this show a couple of times. Who appointed you to the post of Chairman of SEMA?
The President.
The President appointed you. What is the President's vision with regard to combating heroin or drugs in Sri Lanka?
Well, actually, I am involved with the President's agriculture program, the transport program, and to a certain extent in the energy.
What is the President's vision? What does the President want to do with regard to combating drugs in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, I am not directly involved with that.
Yes.
Now,
but you would obviously know what the President
we have a separate project for that under the Presidential Secretariat. So, I mean, it was very clear that we need to have a comprehensive plan for addressing this issue, and there was a cabinet paper passed, and with the participation of key stakeholders in all these sectors, there was a concrete program. But now it's, I mean, it's implemented. I am not involved with that, so I cannot go ahead with on that matter.
Right. I'll rephrase that question for you, Mr. Ashok Abhigunawardena. During the last few months, a lot of cocaine was seized in Sri Lanka. I'll give you a few examples. On the 9th of October, 31 kilograms of cocaine was seized with the help of the Anti-Narcotics Bureau in Kalania. On the 22nd of July, a stash of cocaine valued at 4 billion rupees was discovered. Then again, a few days ago, you had a haul of 220 kilograms of cocaine being discovered. Then on the 14th of June, 25 kilograms of cocaine was seized. Where are these drugs? Where is it? Where can you find it? Is it seized under the customs, or has it suddenly vanished into the thin air?
I have no idea about that because I was not involved with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, now the core issue on all these issues is that now the government policies are there, but how the strategies are developed and what's implemented and who is implementing and to what extent that has given results is an issue. not only in this particular case.
Cocaine has been seized quite vigorously by the Anti-Narcotics Bureau. Where is this cocaine?
Actually, I have no idea about that because I was not in touch with that program. That's the issue.
Yes, I'll stop the timer for the minute, and I'll give Mr. Sali the opportunity to respond to that. Where is this cocaine?
Have you ever seen the Sri Lanka customs raiding and catching any of this cocaine? No. It is always information. Now, all the sugar importers are getting 200 kilo, 300 kilo, 400 kilo. They are getting. Why are they getting it? That's a different arrangement. Now, if that is the case, this would have come for a very long time. And now, all of a sudden, this is coming in the sugar containers. And now the people who are importing itself is calling the police, calling the customs and saying, my container is coming, I won't check because I feel there is cocaine. Now the last one also, if you see the media, it very clearly says, the owner has called and told there is cocaine in my container. Right? So don't ever think that the Sri Lanka customs have taken.
Where is this cocaine now?
Then it goes to the lab. How it happens is, most of the drug dealers who have been caught full time and who are sentenced, some are sentenced for death, are today outside. Why? Suddenly this becomes liquid. The cocaine become liquid.
It's government
analyst department. Right? When it is sent to the lab, this changes and that person is outside. So we have to adopt some system to identify that this is cocaine then and there, and just put whatever judgment you have to pass, you have to pass it on to immediately. Because once it goes to the government analysis department, it becomes wooden powder.
No,
Thank you very much. Mr. Asukabi Gunawardana, I'll come to you all in a minute. Mr. Asukabi Gunawardana, you handled the agriculture sector as well for the Presidential Task Force. The ban of weedicides, what was the thinking? Now the Planters Association in Sri Lanka say it was a very illogical thinking of the government to ban weedicides. This does not have any impact on the plantation sector, the estate sector in Sri Lanka. And then the government goes and bans something that is needed for the plantation sector. When the crops are down, tea prices are high at the moment. Sri Lanka is suffering in terms of its output.
Thank you very much for the question, because it's not true. What you say is not true.
This is not what I am saying. This is what the Planters Association
that's what I'm going to answer now.
Sri Lanka.
Now, we have not banned weedicides per se. It's only the universal weedicides we have banned. So the other weedicides, it's not banned, but it's discouraged.
There are no weedicides.
Now let me tell you. The universal weedicide is the glyphosate and glufosinate, which is not actually a weedicide. It's a land clearance process which originally we were using the other tools. So I mean I'm firm on that because I have studied this properly. Now what we are doing right now is we are introducing the non-toxin toxin-free agriculture in the paddy sector. I mean the plant, the paddy, which we have solutions to tackle the issue of weeds. But this is discussed for the tea industry, plantation sector, where there is no question. There are a lot of other alternatives to manage the weeds.
Tell me what are the alternatives?
Yeah, now the core issue is now tea is it's a perennial crop. It can sustain. The issue is the companies are not managing the plantations properly. There are vacancies. They are not filling in a proper way. That's why these weeds are
coming.
Then
how do you do it?
Now
what is the systematic way to do it?
Now in the plantation sector, in the tea industry, 60% of the plantation is under the larger plantation companies, but now it's the other way. Now 40% of the plantations are major companies, but the outgrowers, the small tea holders are doing a major role. They are covering about 75% of the total the production. There's no issue of pesticides or the glufosinate or the glyphosate, because they are managing it properly. So the issue is nothing to do with glyphosate. It's an issue that relates to not having a proper management in the plantation industry and the labor cost. I mean, it's not for the handling the weeds. but also for the plucking and the other processing. Now they have a clear issue of not handling the labor properly. Now this particular land were there for about 150 odd years, where the land is degraded. Now the core issue in the plantation industry is not the absence of glyphosate, but there's a major crisis in that sector which need to be handled properly.
Ms. Abhigunawardena, let's take a look at the asbestos sheets issue. The government gave a grace period.
Yeah.
Said from this date onwards, from this year onwards, we won't let any organization import asbestos to the country. However, that didn't happen in terms of weedicides in country. It just someone got up in the morning and decided, okay, we are going to ban weedicides.
No,
and now the planting sector
it's not so. Even during the last regime, there was an agitation against these things. So because of the delay only, all these things happened. So there
Why not?
There's no hurry in it, and there's no need to have glyphosate because it is ruining the soil. It's ruining the soil. There's no question about that. And I mean, why are you discussing about tea only? In other sectors, all these issues are addressed and rectified. But in the plantation industry, the issue is not initially
the government said
something else.
Ms. Abhigunawardena, initially the government said it was rat fever that is being created. People can't go with their feet barefoot, and then you get a fever. And now you're talking about a fertilizer issue. What is right
the
here?
real issue is now we need to go for sustainable agriculture worldwide. Now you can see
but this has to be communicated
Yeah.
by the government to the plantation sector. This has to be communicated by the government to those stakeholders, isn't it?
I didn't get your point.
The government has to say that they are going towards a sustainable agriculture program rather than just banning weedicides. Or
No, you need to understand, we have not banned weedicides. It's only the universal weedicides. There's a
Right.
difference between those two. Weeds are there when the plantation is there, but universal weedicide is something different, which is not used for managing weeds.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ashok Abhigunawardena, for your thoughts as well. On the third round, the chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. Let's open the floor for questions from the journalists. Let's start off with Sonali.
Thanks, Shamir. Dr. Mahanamaheva, recently 3,500 million rupees worth of cocaine was found from Urugudavatta container yard. Today, interestingly, the chief opposition whip and leader of the JVP, Anukumar Dissanayake, said that perhaps there's some political intervention here, in all the drug halls. I'd like to talk about the conduct of parliamentarians in Parliament. Don't you think that there's a whole lot of squabbling but no discussion on clear policy, which is what we need for this country? How do you view this? And why do you think our parliamentarians can't understand enough to talk about policy?
I totally agree with that statement, because we, a government, sometimes we see domestic level we are protected, but if you see any other country, tell me a national government is there. We are talking about investors to come and invest in Sri Lanka, but other countries, they think there is no fixed system. People will go to Vietnam, even the socialist system, because political credibility as well as sustainability is there. National government, the big issue, immediately president make a statement, stock market coming down. So they are internationally, they are surveilling and investigating. So that is the position here. If two party leaders are making several statements, there is a great suspect creating with the investors. So we must have one government, take one policy, go according to that. Now the issue, which policy you are going to make? Whether one party policy or the other party policy or the parliamentarians come up with one policy. My understanding, you must be honest and you must be ethical person. Then the policies we can create without any doubt. When a policy is coming up, are we acting according to the policy? Press freedom. Press freedom, that was the slogan before the election. Now they are going to appoint monitoring board, whatever the call surveillance they are thinking about. So this is where I am asking, if you give a mandate, if you are actually acting according to the act, that is the policy. But what is happening to keep your popularity, to suppress some parties? People have a right to criticize. No need to tell that. Everyone having the freedom of information as well as the act and the constitution, it is there. Why you all are worried about that, politicians? Why country leaders are worried about that? That is the freedom is there. So what you ask, the policies, what is the foreign policy currently we are having? Have you thought about any type of policy? At least even the parliament, are we obey to a rule? So these things must be, character building is much needed, training needed. There are, how many parliamentarians are using the parliament library? According to my knowledge, only JVPs are there, not any other party. They just do this as a business. That's why they are going to increase the allowance also.
Mr. Abhigunawardena, are our politicians doing politics as a business? Do you think there should be imposed on parliamentarians a minimum educational standard? I mean, why can't our parliamentarians talk about policy, about decisions that affect the people's lives? Why?
Yeah, that's exactly the reason for us to change the electoral system. Because now in the current setup, as you pointed out, the way it's designed, the selected parliamentarians in most instances has no depth as far as policies and actions are concerned. But because of the system, the corrupt people getting appointed, and then they want to demonstrate their capabilities in the parliament. All those things are happening because it's the incorrect way of selecting the parliamentarians. That's why we are keen to change the system, so that at least in the future the proper the people who are concerned about the country, about the others, let's say non-corrupt or less corrupt people getting elected, then only we can have this. I mean, I don't think that we can train the
Mr. Abhigunawardena, I want to pose a question to you. Now, the finance minister of Sri Lanka,
training programs in Hikkadu and other places.
the finance minister,
Prime Minister has already your leaders. Your leaders are conducting several training programs in big hotels. So why they are doing that? Then you had a question from Prime Minister, why you are doing, if the training you can't change?
That does not apply to me. So
I don't know. That's
I'm not a UMP.
Mr. Abhigunawardena, given the finance minister's statement to give tabs to A-level students, how many do you think qualify for those tabs if they are past their O-levels and entering A-levels to the 225 members in Parliament?
Actually, the issue relating to these tabs and the educational reforms that's needed, I don't think that this is the first priority of a country. Now, if you think you need to change the education system to make where the people, I mean the youth, regarding the let's say,
Mr. Abhigunawardena, we are all in agreement that the education system needs to be changed. There has to be widespread education reform. We already have several programs in Sri Lanka that were targeted at uplifting the standards of school children, etc. I'd like to focus on a story that Action TV exposed yesterday on Sirasa TV1 and on Shakti TV as well. It was to do with the school uniforms. Now, the program of giving away free material for school uniforms was scrapped, and they introduced a coupon system. Now, for 4,000 remote schools, that coupon system has also been scrapped. The local company that was manufacturing the textiles and providing it has closed down. The people who are working there have lost their jobs, and we're now importing the material from India.
China.
And the local agent here is profiting from it. Is this Yahapalnya? 2 weeks ago on Action TV we reported on an incident, again in the education sector, where the president laid the foundation stone for a 240 million rupee project at a underprivileged school in Colombo. And then in July, the education minister and the finance minister lay another foundation stone on top of that for their own project. Is this a SLFP-UNP battle happening there? Has education in this country become a victim of petty party politics?
Well, that's
I know that you're not in the government. I know that you're not in the education sector, but being a government official and a person who campaigned for this administration to come in, how do you respond to
Well, actually, I agree with what you said. Actually, now let's take the first question. Now, what exactly is the government policy towards strengthening the industry in Sri Lanka? How local industries are developed, and what we are going to import? All those things should be in a framework that works. So I agree. I mean, it's nothing to do with that coupon, but the government policy regarding the industries. So I agree with you that that's what I'm saying. That we need to have a coherent policy for that. So that dialogue is not happening right now. Even the education sector, I'm not aware of this
two foundation stones?
Yeah,
the president.
I'm not aware.
Members of the cabinet don't respect the president.
Yeah, if that happens, it's a serious issue, because I'm not aware of that particular incident. But well, there may be the confrontation between the two political parties, but from the government point of view, that should be a coherent program. So if so things are happening, then it's very serious, and the president should take measures to rectify that.
Mr. Saleh, you also campaigned for this government. You campaigned for this government. You went on stage. You spoke at the rallies. You spoke for the election of the president, the prime minister. What do you have to say to this now? What has happened to the education sector in our country?
Very relevant, as I have discussed this in the previous programs. There are 5 garment factories. There are 5 factories that started manufacturing the white cloth and the school uniform, the blue one. They have spent millions and millions of rupees for this project. Not only that, they are doing police uniforms also. And all of a sudden, when this voucher was introduced, as you said, 1 or 2 factories are already closed down. They wrote to the president. I myself went and met the president, told, we are a government that is trying to bring in more investment, or whatever that is there, the local garment industry has to be protected. That is a policy of the government. No, there are people who are working there, there are people who are invested there, and if you suddenly stop this production of the school uniform and then allow people to import from China, each child in a school will be different to somebody. I mean, you will not get the same quality material. One person will buy the material at 200 rupees, one person will buy 150 rupees. So this was widely spoken last year. I was campaigning very hard for that and told all schools, because I come from DSN Anaka school. When we go to school, our principal stands at the gate and sees whether all are wearing the same thing. If there is a student who wears something silky or something better than another child, that child is sent home and said, come on with the 65-35 shirt. That was the discipline that we had there. But today, each person can wear whatever white they want to wear, because depending on the father's pocket. Now government now gives a voucher 400 rupees. How can you buy 2 shirts for 400 rupees? The tailoring fees itself is 300 rupees. So you can't totally, and better government should not give this, because here also there is corruption only.
So what's the solution? What do we do with the education sector?
Now what happened was, they totally finished the industry, the local industry, and they asked to close down. And as you said, the catchers are now importing, and some people are brokers who are buying the vouchers now. That is what is actually happening. And second question was about the president laying a foundation and the minister going and laying a foundation. Very true. I spoke about this just 10 days ago. But thank God, yesterday we were able to bring both the fractions together. That is, the World Maimon Organization is coming up with a 250 million project for that school. That is where the president went and laid the foundation. Honorable member for Colombo Central has gone and approached the minister at Langama Pasala, Hondama Pasala project for another 70 million rupees. So both sides were fighting and say, no, you both the president kept the foundation, but you all didn't do anything for 8 months. Was the accusation by the honorable member. Other side was saying, we got the president to come and lay the foundation, but there is a master plan we have thought of now. Earlier we thought of only 50 million rupees. Now we are thinking of a master plan which is over 250 million. It's a donation coming from the World Mammon Organization. Then what did we suggest yesterday was, okay, honorable member, don't fight. Let the school benefit.
So the matter has been resolved now.
Yesterday morning 10 o'clock we met at a very important person's office and we brought about a settlement. We said 250 million plus the 70 million is going to be 320 million. Let the children of Malikawata benefit. And today we bought a decision and we said on the master plan we will give a building for the honorable minister which will be 70 million, he can complete that. The rest the other World Mammon Organization will do it. So both have agreed. And thank God, that's a very good pertinent question, and today we have made it very clear to everybody that this matter is being resolved now.
Now the issue when it comes to the national policies and all that, we very clearly see the differentiator between the UNP and the UPFA. The SLFP line on some of the main policies, and their policies of course are much different from the UNP. Just take the ICTA for that matter. UNP read it in a different color, and their approach and the technicalities associated with that is totally different from the SLFP mindset. So those are on the two different policies and they are having two different approaches to reach that. So each and every project or each and every policy decision or a crucial approach or a decision wise thinking on this behalf is having a some sort of uncertainty when it going into the implementation. So we should understand the particular practical aspect of this. But here the issue, they are not making policy decisions inside the house. They are coming out and talking in front of people, not negotiating and sorting it out inside their rooms. So this is the issue, and we think, I mean, the way out for the good governance government is that take a very concrete step and work, do your homework at home, and don't bring it back to the public.
Mr. Saleh, I'm going to bring up an old topic actually, which something which Shamir and both Sonali brought up, the fight against drugs. Now, even during the previous government or during the campaign, presidential campaign, you were quite particular of the previous government saying make ethanol anduak and all of that, all of those statements. But turns out drugs continue to come into the country. So who do you blame now?
Actually, President is very tough. As he said earlier, you can see the cigarette prices going high. But at the same time, don't forget that cigarettes are coming into this country.
But 58 bar license was given.
Yeah, right? Liquor is there. How many members of parliament are license holders? There, even the law that you can't open a bar in front of a mosque, opposite a temple, opposite a church, opposite a kovil, is it being implemented? Opposite the school? How many ministers having permit that are running just the opposite all these institutions? So there is no clear-cut policy. Now President is interested to see that tobacco. He has done his best. We are all happy. But end of the day, see how much of foreign cigarettes coming in. Did you see last week? They bought chunk loads of timber. And when that was an information. Not that our guys were very smart enough to go and catch that. Nothing like that. Because as Mahinda Rajapaksa said, Avot Salli, Elluot Salli, Elliot Talugerot Salli. That was the truth. That is what Mahinda Rajapaksa said. So that is what is happening here. Now what happened? That chunks when they cut, they found it's about 20 feet long trees. Right? The whole thing was just in bundles. You just put a rope and pull the whole thing.
So Mr. Saleh, could we say that essentially that the baton is merely being passed from one government to the other, regardless of what policy, regardless of what corruption it is?
The guy who wants to do it is doing it. That is because we don't punish him.
But then we said,
as I told you, when the cocaine is caught,
political interference.
When the cocaine is caught, if they can do something then and there will be some fear that this guy was sentenced to death. But what is happening? We are getting the best of lawyers to appear, and then that fellow in 3-4 days he comes out.
But Mr. Saleh, we were talking about political interference.
Yeah.
But then the government has changed. So how is there still political interference?
That is still there. That's why I'm saying, though the independent commissions came, It's not independent. You mean to say, is the police independent?
The political issue is something different, and in the same time we should not forget the fact that bribery is on unbelievable scale.
Unbelievable.
And we saw when the investigations were going on, the power of purse is playing a huge impact on the investigations, ongoing investigations.
We always talk about bribery, how bribery is still rampant. Now, some of the things that you all supported that if are implemented from that 100 days program, like the National Audit Bill, like the Code of Conduct, if those are implemented, the problems that you're talking about will be stopped to a great deal.
Definitely, yes.
So what is civil society doing about this? What is the role of civil society in this? I haven't seen civil society talk about the National Audit Bill. They've forgotten about the Code of Conduct. So what is civil society doing about it
Just
now?
answer one question that you all are posing question on us. No, I am asking a very simple question of this government. Now, if you see a Delcy Archie coming and giving you gems and jewelry, she gets on the first round, right? What's she getting? She getting valuable gems and jewelry. And the next day, that same person who came and gave that comes and says, no, you can't go and be selling these things. Here is the money. So 10 or 15 bags, gunny bags of money is bought in, and then Delcy Archie's that jewelry and gems were taken back. Can somebody relate a story like this and escape from court? Can anybody come out of police inquiry? Tell me, which country will allow this? But why? There is no investigation. Can you have under 56 million in your bank account? Tell me. How many people will be behind you? Where action? Honorable Prime Minister, where action? No
Thank you very
action.
much, Mr. Sali, Mr. Tenakon.
But Mr. Tenakon, you didn't answer my question. What's the role of civil society in this?
No, I mean, civil society is acting on...
Specifically on these matters, on the Code of Conduct, on the National Audit Bill.
National Audit Bill, even last week we had some consultations, and we are continuously pressuring for that National Audit Bill, and we are believing, I mean, we cannot guarantee, but I think we are believing there's some sort of a draft, final draft will come by next March, of course. Let's hope for the best for that matter.
Let's hope for the best. We need to go for a short commercial break, Mr. Tenakon. Unfortunately, we have to enter into the final round. Thank you very much for your thoughts on the fourth round. Before we go in for a short commercial break, I recollect when Nadeem and Ms. Sali were very vocal about the situation with regard to this Malika of the school. I remember a principal of the school once told me when I was a kid that how he tried to introduce boxing to this particular school in question. And he failed many times, and then was able to build a boxing team in this particular school in question. How money was very hard for this school at that time. And now hearing that 250 million rupees have been allocated by the Neighbourhood Association, and another 70 million rupees have been allocated to this school in question, that principal would be quite happy as to see that this school is now on the forward march. It is important that all politicians work together to ensure that the future prospects of this resplendent island are protected. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's Face the Nation, the final round. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. We start off this round with Mr. Asoka Begunawardena, Chairman of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. Mr. Begunawardena, prior to the presidential elections, when I asked you who you would be voting for, you said, I'm standing with the President Maithripala Sirisena. Then a few months after, prior to the August 17th elections, when I asked you who would you vote for, you said, I am not sure, I don't want to vote for anyone right now because there is no policy direction. Right after the August 17th elections, when I asked you who did you vote for again, you said, I didn't vote for any political party in question. My question to you is, let's say there is an election next year. Who would you be voting for, given the current status? The time starts now.
Actually, there should be a lot of things happening prior to the next election. I mean, there's an opportunity for us to change the setup of the country for the betterment of the people and for the benefit of the country. So for that, the core issue is now we have to go beyond this blame game. We have to contribute positively to do something useful. I mean, this year is very critical because Up to now, we were expecting that the two major parties will have a constructive dialogue and come up with a concrete answer, which did not happen. So, going beyond this, I think just passing the blame to the politicians alone will not work, because in most instances I have realized that the politicians set some policies, but beyond that nothing is happening on the ground. So lack of professionalism among the bureaucrats and the experts is a core issue in Sri Lanka for achieving the results. So the most of the incidences you mentioned right now clearly explains, though certain frameworks are have set up, but it's not functioning. The independent commissions, it's not purely due to political interventions, but the independent commissions are not up to they are not delivering up to expectations. So it's not that energetic, it's not that efficient, and it's not producing results. In all these spheres, I think the role of the professionals and the bureaucrats is very important to achieve something out of this setup, because we feel that now there's a broader opportunity right now when compared with the previous regimes. We have an opportunity for us to grab and do something for the country. So my request is that we need to go beyond this blame game and come up with some solutions, tangible solutions, which can be implemented on the ground. There's no policy restriction as such, but we are not constructively supporting this program. So that's where we are right now. If we are to deliver something during the next year, it's very important for us to deliver during the next year. We need the civil society, the professionals, the experts should contribute positively and grab this situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abhigunawardena, for your thoughts. But before moving to Mr. Azad Saleh, I see you walking down Independence Square quite often, Mr. Abhigunawardena. Where is your vote? Is it in Colombo? Where do you vote usually? Is it in Colombo?
Yeah,
or Colombo. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashok Abhigunawardena, for your thoughts. Now to Mr. Azad Saleh. Now you have a gentleman on your left, Mr. Ashok Abhigunawardena, who is going to vote from Colombo, and he is not yet sure about who he is going to vote for. And you have 2 minutes to impress him what you would do differently during the campaign or during your term in office, or if you are elected. So my question to you is very simple: what is the way forward for this government? Your time starts now.
Actually, you will have to, as Pratibha said, it's not too late. 22 months is gone, but at least stick to the policy that you all have already told the public, the promises you all have made to public. Come out just only naming the other side for having robbed the country. Even that is not being done properly. No, first do that, implement those things, take all these people who have robbed the country, let the whole world see what and what they have done, what is the damage, and what about this money is lying in Dubai, all these countries. Bring all this money, Seychelles monies are lying, bring all those things into the country. First one. Second, take action against the present ministers who are robbing. Right? Several charges are being framed. We saw in one of your own programs a professor saying, if I am the Prime Minister, I will sack 6 ministers. Right? So these type of accusations are coming, and people are totally unhappy with the setup that is already in. So just prove to the country that not only bringing independent commissions, but we are also very tough with our members of parliament and our ministers for robbing. So take action, prove that what you are doing is right, let the people think that you are doing the right thing, then let them at least now come up and tell, okay, this government is in the right track. But what everybody says today, whenever we go out, that the government has totally mishandled the whole situation. So there is nothing that we can expect from this government. Though the budget was good, what is the mindset of the people? That nothing is happening. But where is the promise? What did they say? What are the accusations? Now again, what are we going to do? The image that was created internationally for good governance, the countries came forward to help us. Today they will put a stop and say, my God, they are also the same. Unuttekai munuttekai. Right? So we don't want to get that name, because we, all of us here, I don't know about Pratibha, but the 3 of us here are people who campaigned for Yapalni. We gave our necks out to Yapalni. We were the vociferous speakers for Yapalni. So we have all the right to tell the defects that are there in the Yapalni and tell them, please, for God's sake, put your house in order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azhar, leader of the National Unity Alliance. Mr. Thennakoon, you're from which part of the country?
I am from the central part of the country, but
Central
I am,
province. Where about?
I am from Vallimada.
Vallimada.
Yeah.
What Mr. Salih said, is it appealing to the rural masses of Sri Lanka about arresting the culprit, about making sure that we ensure a corruption-free society? Is it all applicable to those in the central province, to the rural masses of Sri Lanka, or do they want the cost of living to come down, have a better environment to stay? What do they really want?
I think
If you have to give some advice to Mr. Salih, what would be the advice that you would give?
I think the both is very much important for the people, the rural people of the country. Number one, if we are going to forget about the fight against corruption, I think this government cannot go anywhere, and their way, vision and everything will be totally lost. If this government is not addressing the very basics, fundamental freedoms, and what they pledged during the election campaigning time, and if they are not performing, I think the downfall will be very soon. It will come. The other hand, we should not forget the fact that there are 9 districts. The Sinhala Buddhist mentality is down there, and more often, the issues related to the livelihood, the income generating, and addressing the fact that the extremely poor people in the ground is a concern factor. Even the middle class people are not capable of getting the very basics, the household needs, the each and every day. The school vacation is coming on. The parents want to take their children out for the vacation. Are they really capable of doing that? The financial sector, ensuring financial factors for house is very much important. And if we are going to forget about that, if we are going to ignore that, that factor will come as a burden to this particular government. Moreover, we have made so many pledges to the international communities, and those pledges were based on the requirements and the very demanding aspect of the various communities from our own societies. When will be these sort of promises, aspirations of the people are going to deliver is the key factor, I think, if we are going to perform.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keith Thennakoon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. The baton is on your hands. I'm not going to ask who you would be voting for sure, Dr. Mahana Mehwa, but my question to you is very simple. Onto your immediate right is a confused voter who does not know who is going to vote for obvious reasons. And onto your right again is an individual who is going to be a candidate at a future local government election. And onto your far right is an individual who is a civil rights activist who is always talking about getting the house in order. You are the former Human Rights Commissioner of Sri Lanka. What should be the priority of the government right now? The time starts now.
The priority should be given for certain type of corruption. Now, I am not going to blame some of the commissions. People's priority, the commission members are not accepting as the priority. For example, bribery and corruption, lot of complaints are there. These are people complain. Whether the commission members or the commission accepting as it is a priority. So there is a misgap. That is the basic issue. People want this type of corruption at first. But whether the commissions are accepting like that. So therefore, we should give priority for the people and also burning issues. Same thing in Human Rights Commission. The higher education minister openly said 20% of recommendations are not implemented. In our time also this was the same blame. So there is no change. Even the commissions are independent, as Honorable Asad Salih said. Same thing. And also Sri Lanka Police Commission, how many reports they have published against these violations against and innocent people applications. This is where I see as a human right activities, one thing should be very clear. Not the commission, not the members, but they must act according to the people's complaints which are really in the grassroots level. If we are delaying, as Kirti said perfectly, there were some prison riots. How many commissions were there in the previous government and this government? And Valiveri incident, nothing has happened. So I mean the same system is continuing, but I urge from people to think and vote in the elections which is forthcoming.
Thank you very much.
You saw how the JO has gone before the bribery commission. For what?
Thank you very
Marble
much.
funds have been taken in by somebody.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for expressing your thoughts tonight on Face the Nation. Joining us this evening was Dr. Pratibha Mahanameheva, a former Human Rights Commissioner and Attorney at Law. Also joining us this evening was Mr. Asoka Begunawardena, Chairman of Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. Also joining us this evening was Mr. Azad Salih, leader of the National Unity Alliance. Also joining us this evening was also Mr. Kirti Thendakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Thank you very much, Nadim. Thank you very much, Sonali, and thank you very much, Shahin, for joining us this evening. Next time you take a walk down Independence Square, Mr. Abegunawardena, you should really think, are we really independent? I leave you tonight with a quote from Fidel Castro, 90 years of age, ruled Cuba for 47 years. He said, I would not vote for the mayor. It's not because he didn't invite me for dinner, but because on my way into town from the airport, there were so many enormous potholes. Are there potholes in your life? Are you not satisfied with how things are working? Then here's a quote for you to end your day. A revolution is a struggle to death between the future and the past. Fidel Castro. Take care. Good night.